We will begin recording.
All right, we're live. Let's go. All right. Good evening, everybody. We're going to get started in just a moment here. I'll give people a chance to get on the Zoom, work through any technological issues, and then we'll get started here in just a moment. All right, so good evening. My name is Mr. Davis. I am not a big fan of awkward silences, which is what we just had. So we're going to go ahead and get started here. I want to thank you for coming out tonight. Again, this is not the evening that we envisioned. We would have loved to have had you in the building, and that's why we're looking forward to having you in the building a little bit later in the month of February. But we did want to at least let you see us, let you hear from us, and get a sense of what Cherry Hill East is like. I'm gonna first turn it over to our principal, Dr. Dennis Perry, just to kind of give you a brief little opening and set kind of the tone for the evening. So Dr. Perry.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Davis. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for going through the process of visiting both High School East and High School West. And getting a sense of where you feel that you and your child will be most comfortable for their high school career. You really cannot go wrong. We have two amazing high schools in Cherry Hill. And the amazing piece about East are our students and our teachers. So you're gonna have an opportunity to meet some of our students tonight, as well as some of our teachers tonight, and hear about some of the occurrences and happenings in our various departments in the school. So without further ado, I want to again thank you for coming. I look forward to meeting many of you as you enter East on the 24th of September for an in-person event, and certainly when we come back in the fall next year to school. So have a great night tonight, and again, thank you for joining us.
So thank you, Dr. Perry. So we're gonna basically, this evening is going to be broken into three parts. We're going to start off with a couple of our students, mostly juniors and seniors, and just kind of what their experience at East has been like. And then we're going to turn it over to representatives from our academic departments to kind of take you through a little presentation of what their discipline is and just some of the things that's involved with those courses. And then we're going to kind of actually jump off the Zoom and give you an opportunity to hear from our elective teachers in a different format. So we'll get to there in a second. So we're going to start off here with our students, and I want to thank the couple of kids who came on today. And at first, I want to just turn it over to our school president, Devin Levin, just to give you a brief little welcome. So Devin.
Well, hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Like Mr. Davis said, my name is Devin Levin, and I have served as the student body president for this year. And while it's very difficult to sum up my past 4 years in roughly 1 minute, I just want to start off by saying that East was the right place for me, and it's the right place for you and your kids. High school is such a pivotal point in our lives, so it's very important to choose the right place. I could honestly say that I am a completely different person than I was freshman year, for the best. I frequently get asked whether being in such a big school like East is for them, when going to a small private school would be a lot easier socially. I cannot disagree with the statement more. Because there's so many people here, there's so many different little families. Are you into theater? This is the place for you. Are you into anime? This is the place for you. Are you into basketball? This is the place for you. And I'm sure you get my point here. The size of East offers so many different experiences that a small school could just not provide. What makes my East experience so special was getting involved. Sometimes I think our school has over 1,000 clubs, and I'm a part of 999 of them. Getting involved in student government, basketball, lacrosse, Multicultural Day, and so much more helped me find my forever friends. Another part of East that I just found was amazing was the different types of classes we had. So freshman year, I got to take sustainable design, which was a class where I got to learn how to build houses online. I got to take different physics classes. And I just think a lot of the interesting different classes, the art classes, the journalism classes, all goes to making careers in life. And a lot of my friends who've taken these specialty classes are now applying to college. And I know that seems very far away for you, but they are now applying to college and majoring in the specific classes that were only offered at East. Thank you.
Thanks, Devin. All right, so I'm just going to throw these questions out to the panel. Again, we have juniors and seniors here tonight representing a lot of different aspects of East. So the first question I just want to throw out, and you guys can just either give me like a hand wave like this or do the raised hand feature or whatever, but talk a little bit about what you remember about your freshman year of East. What was it like for you when you walked through the doors of East as for the first time coming as a freshman? We'll go Kyler, then we'll go Chris.
All right, so I remember my first day at East. My first class was health in F-Wing, and I'm gonna be honest, I was completely lost when I walked in through those doors. I thought I knew my way around the school because I had gone to basketball practice there before, but it was so far from the truth. Luckily, I asked an upperclassman, even though all my friends said the upperclassmen are gonna like send you to the wrong place. He told me right where the classroom was. I got to class on time, and it really sort of alleviated all those worries that I had about what high school was going to be like, what the upperclassmen were going to be like.
Chris?
So freshman year, it seems really close to where we are right now, but I can't believe I'm a junior already. So I'm currently a junior in high school. 2 years ago, I walked into those big double doors of Charo East, and I was really just overwhelmed at the first sight of the sheer amount of students inside the building. And honestly, I was so filled with excitement with the fact that there were so many kids bustling about, and we all had the common goal of like enjoying a fun and welcome and exciting high school career. And honestly, that was probably one of the most exciting days that I can remember of my life. So same as Kyler, I also asked an upperclassman for help to go to my first history world civilizations class. That was my A block, my first class of high school. And going into the room, I saw half of the kids that I knew from Rosa, because I went to Rosa Middle School, but the other half were completely new faces that I saw, Beck students, and also some other students from other schools. And I found Charo East such a good opportunity to connect with so many different people that I had never met, and to build so many new connections with the amount of students who are interested and involved in common topics and common interests. So I think Charo East provides so many different opportunities for anybody to really dive into and explore who they are throughout their 4 years of high school.
All right, anybody else? What it was like when you walked in? Go ahead, Max.
Hello everyone. My name is Max. I'm a senior here at Cherry Hill East. So I mean, obviously, just to reiterate a little bit what Kyler and Chris said. I mean, transitioning from middle school and especially with the point where you just like so get used to like the middle school atmosphere and then going into East. I mean, and it's being such a large building with so many different wings and so many different classes. I was obviously intimidated in a way. But I mean, just to keep it short, the people that I met at East, obviously, like the teachers, the students that were there, they just had a really great way of welcoming me into the community and really being able to nurture my interests in a way that allowed me to kind of spread out and find a place where I was to become really comfortable. I mean, coming into East, I like had no idea where I was going. I mean, but just looking back, I mean, I like look at every hall and I just know like I have made so many like memories in each of the classrooms. And I mean, these halls have really shaped and defined who I am. And I mean, as Devin said earlier, like I definitely would not be the same person I am because of East. So just like coming into East, it's obviously intimidating, but you grow within the walls of our school. And it's just a great comforting environment knowing that people are there and looking out for you along the way.
Brielle, and then we'll go to our next question.
Yeah, I remember just on the first day, like even just on the bus, I was really nervous. But the thing that made like East like much more accommodating and comfortable for me on the first day was really the teachers, which was like the thing I was most nervous about. All of the teachers on the first day and really throughout the year were so like accommodating, and they knew that, you know, this isn't something we're used to. We're coming from middle school. It's a smaller area, and you know, I was always nervous, like they're not going to hold your hand, and they don't, but they make everything like an easy transition for you. They're really accommodating on the first day. They let you know what it's going to be like in a way that prepares you for what's going to come. And they're really always there for you throughout, especially that first week. Like I was so nervous about being late to my classes, and I was a couple times, and they were completely understanding because it is a big school, like everyone said. So I think the teachers were a great resource, and I would definitely like take advantage of that, especially the first couple months.
Okay. So when you think about your decision to come to East, did any of you have a decision to either go to East or a different school? Were you always coming to East, or were you potentially going somewhere else and you decided to come to East, and kind of what maybe helped you decide to come to East? Go ahead, Vanessa.
So I always knew I was going to come to East ever since I was younger. I've had siblings that have went through East, and because of them, I know, like I always knew like East was going to be a good place for me. And I did know people who went to West, but like I'd heard like a lot of good things about East, and I just knew that I could always see myself at East more. And East is really just like, it's always seemed welcoming to me, and like, you know, like a good high school. So I never really like told myself, oh, maybe I'll go to West. I always knew East was going to be the place I would go to.
Okay. Anybody else? Gina?
So I have to kind of agree with Vanessa too. My sister went here, but I also live on the west side, and I actually have a lot of my elementary school friends who end up going to West. And I do think that a lot of the decision to go to West sometimes is that there's less competition, there's less people in general, and there are pros and cons to that, and you just have to kind of figure it out for yourself. But I personally think that, like kind of like building up what Devin said, being in such a large school, you're always going to be able to find somebody that you kind of click with. And also that being such a large school, there's always a club that, you know, you're going to like, there's an esports club, guys. Like I swear, there's a club for everything. There's a class for everything. There's a marine biology elective now for like half of like a semester. Like there, it definitely can. I think that one of the potential cons to being a really large school is that at times it may feel a little bit impersonal, but I swear once you've kind of like, everyone's on the same page on the first day. Everyone's lost. I was that kid holding a map. I know where I was going. But once you kind of find the kind of group of people you click with, I think it really makes the process so much easier.
Okay. So let me ask you guys this. Again, being juniors and seniors, is there anything that you're involved in right now that would surprise your freshman self? You know, when you were a freshman coming in, you were like, there's no way I would ever do that. And now you're doing it. You know, what are you involved in, and kind of what are some things that you do that would really surprise yourself? We'll go Chris, then Brielle, then Kyler.
So I have quite a few things to talk about, I think, but I'll try to keep it down. So I consider myself quite changed since I was in 8th grade. Like student government, I'm still doing as vice president. But one thing that I started taking up last year in sophomore year was cross country. Uh, I'm not exactly, I think, what you would call the most athletic person. But over like quarantine, I started running a bit to stay in fit, and then I decided to join the team last year. And I really found that so beneficial, not only to me, but also to build new connections, new friends, and really just networking with a whole new group of people, like Gina said, like a whole new subway that I could get involved in that I really had not been able to get in touch with. And also, I realized the more I get involved in, the more connections I start building with different pockets and friend groups and environments, because East is so diverse. And another aspect that I decided to get involved in freshman year was Model UN. I really did not have any interest in debate or politics or government or any sort of that social science network in 8th grade. But really, a friend just convinced me to go to a Model UN meeting in freshman year. And then I went to the first conference, and really, I just enjoyed that so much. And then ever since, I've been doing it, and it's been like a huge part of like my activities and my time. So really don't be afraid, especially at such a big school at East. That's my advice, to get involved in anything, because you really don't know where like your passion or your interest can take you, and it can really change you, I think, as it did to me.
Brielle?
Yeah, I had like a similar experience. I remember in middle school, we had to do, I went to Rosa, we had to do a lot of community and service. And I remember certain projects I wasn't really a big fan of. So coming to East, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna like, stay on that path. Maybe I'll start working or doing something else, not community service related. And the first event going into East, I found like a sidewalk chalk kind of event. And I figured it would be a great place to meet people. I didn't really know that many people. I was nervous I was going to, stay in that same group, and I wanted to branch out. And it was being run by a community and service club, Interact. And now I'm like on the board for it. I helped come up with the ideas, and I would have never pictured like myself doing something like that and being so involved. But the club has like really changed me. And like similar to Chris, I started another club like sophomore year. I was really nervous about starting like a club after freshman year. I'm like, oh, I'm going to be late, and all of the people in my grade would have already started. And, I actually, because of that, I've joined a couple other clubs like that, but I also started a club in sophomore year. And now it's like kind of networked out, and I've gotten to meet so many more like different people that I wouldn't have met. So it's just kind of showed me that like, don't, stay in the same clubs that you would picture yourself in, like even if it's your sophomore year, even if it's like your junior, senior year, like you should definitely branch out, because your interests grow, like you're going to become changed, and you should definitely like kind of branch out as well, because I found that really helpful in like finding different groups of friends as well.
Tyler?
Coming in my freshman year, I told myself, all right, you just did 3 years of student council at Rosa. There's no way you are ever doing student council again. Just devote these next 4 years to basketball. And then, my junior year, I ended up running for vice president for my class. And then senior year, I ended up running for class president. So just like what Chris and Brielle said, East is a great place. You're going to grow. You're going to change. Don't be afraid to go out and put yourself out there. And I think you'd be really surprised with the results that you get.
Vanessa, you have your hand up?
Honestly, I wouldn't really say I was surprised. I was more proud. I always like knew I wanted to like do more because I used to be really shy and I knew I wanted to like branch out. But like now, the fact that like I know like I'm a leader in like some of my clubs like that, looking back now, I wouldn't really have thought that I would have like actually branched out to do that. And honestly, I encourage like a lot of people to like kind of get out of their comfort zone and try and be leaders because it really will benefit you. And I know it's benefited me, even though I didn't think I would really be like holding positions that I do hold now.
All right, thank you. All right. So Max, Devin, Gina, if you could go back, and restart, is there anything you kind of wish you would have done, or something you wish you would have done differently? I know you guys are all involved in a lot of different things, but anything if you're thinking back?
So I am like highly involved in this school, but I think in the future, or if I want to go back, so in the past, I would have joined an actual Multicultural Day Club. So I joined the Multicultural Day board sophomore year and I got involved, but more on like an overarching running the entire event of the day. And if you're unfamiliar with Multicultural Day, it's a day in the spring where do we have 7 culture clubs? 17? 13 culture clubs present their cultures. And although like I just wish I joined a culture club that was not part of my culture, just to have a better understanding of what other people in the school, because our school, as you just heard, we have 13 culture clubs. Our school is extremely diverse, which again, you would not find at most other schools. I just wish I joined a specific culture club, just so I could get an understanding of like what's my peers' history and what they're experiencing at East.
Gina, go ahead.
So you want to go or?
You can go first if you want.
Okay, so I always say no regrets. I think everything you do is for a reason, but I do have some advice for incoming freshmen. So I would definitely say, if you don't get that A in your freshman class, honestly, it's okay. Just do your best. But also just like for your freshman year, just kind of try out a lot of different stuff. I wish I did DECA. I wasn't into a business club for God's sakes. I didn't do DECA, but like it's just really just kind of chillax your freshman year. Just kind of like go with the flow of things and try a lot of different things. Or if you want to be like, I am doing SGA, I know I'm doing SGA, I am like going like full speed for that, then you can also say, well, I want to lay a foundation for SGA and then just kind of focus in on that. But I definitely do think you have 4 years to kind of like focus in on something. I think your freshman year is definitely that year to kind of like try and see all the different things that East has to offer for you. And then I think that by the end of that year, just kind of think about, what do I want to focus in on? Because the great thing also about these clubs is that there's a lot of opportunity to build up into it. It's not stagnant. You could be the officer or like the captain of it by your junior year. So definitely think about like which ones you want to invest a bit more time into. And then like for example, for SGA, I was the president my first year, and now I'm also, woohoo, the state VP. And I thank you. And I'm also co-creating a student voice committee as part of it too. So just kind of think about what really interests you.
Yes, I 100% agree. In all honesty, I don't remember the specific aspect of the question at the moment, but I'm just going to talk. But I just know like I think like when coming in the East, like you already have your interests, as was already said. I mean, I think the question was like something I regret, or if I can go back.
What do you regret? What would you if you could go back?
Oh yeah, so if I go back, I mean, I like love to draw, but I've never really done anything like with like my art in general. I mean, like even as we're talking, like I'm drawing right now, but like it's just like, so it's just like I've never really done anything with that. So like that's also something I would like love to pursue. But I know as like time goes, like I mean, I guess like my interests have also expanded. So I mean, right now I also love to write, and as Gina said, you work your way through the club. So like I'm also currently serving as like one of the editors in chief of Eastside, which is our school paper. Definitely get involved with that next year. 100% recommend. great opportunity. But yeah, just really allow yourself to dive into your interests. I mean, East has so many classes, and I mean, next year I'm a senior, so I'm kind of I mean, I'm missing out on some of the cool classes that we're adding next year as well. So, I mean, just really like find yourself and find your place, and really just like 100% like get in, like put your all into everything that you do. I mean, one of my favorite things to look back on was, I mean, when I was a sophomore, like the quarantine started, and I remember like my last day in school, like my last day in school, I think it was like March 13th. Like I was like dressed up as like Walt Whitman for like my A-push presentation. So it's just like I was wearing like a big beard to school. It's like funny, but like in all honesty, like literally just like put yourself into your high school experience and just
I have pictures of that.
yeah, exactly. Just find your place in a way that you're just happy with. I mean, as someone said before, like no regrets. I mean, I really don't have any regrets. But I mean, I'm just involved in so many things now that it's just like I'm just like at a place where I'm so happy. I mean, with what I've done and where I've gone at East.
All right, thanks, Max. All right, so we're running short on time here for our students, but Devin, give us some final thoughts here on, you know, what do you like most about East? I know we've heard a lot from everybody, but what do you like most about East? And just give us a final thought for this whole thing.
Just to wrap everything up, I'll keep it short, is what I like most about East is your opportunity to grow. So I think a lot of people, like I said in my speech before, that I am a total different person than I was in my freshman year. And I'll just give an example. Like I was really timid and I wasn't really confident in myself. And I was very aware of my surroundings, especially being like the youngest in the school. So I was really like embarrassed to put myself out there. But now as a senior, I'm very comfortable in the school, and it definitely progresses. And like I got up for Spirit Week. I did the pie eating contest in front of the school. I had cream all over. And I led Hokoween, which was the mixture of homecoming and the Halloween dance, which had over 900 people there. I got up on stage, I talked. So I think there's a lot of room for grow if you let yourself grow at East. And just know that like freshman year at any school is going to be definitely a learning experience, and you kind of have to acknowledge that in your growing process. And just know that the next 4 years are going to be a very, very pivotal and important part of your life.
All right, thank you, Devin. All right, so I just want to thank our students for coming on tonight. You know, they really do represent the best and the brightest of us. You know, amongst the kids that you see here, you know, you've got people involved in student government, in music, in publications, in track and field, culture clubs. I mean, we've got a wide variety of student experiences here, and so we just wanted you to hear their voices a little bit. I mean, we can tell you what we think about East, but you know, in reality, it's them who are the ones who are here on a daily basis, and they're the ones who are going through this East experience. Heck, Miss Dollerton and I could talk about our East experiences being East grads as well. But I won't bore you with the time when I rode dinosaurs to school, and
When the time you had hair.
And I had hair. So thank you, Devin. We'll edit that out of the recording in the future. But no, I just want to thank our students again. If you come and join us on February 24th, you will probably see most of them, because I will probably ask them to join us for that evening. But you know, we look forward to seeing you then. So students, you guys can roll. Thank you again for everything. And we're going to start the next portion of our program. Just give our teachers a chance to get set up here. And we'll take about a 10-second break, and then, you know, get rolling with our teachers. All right, that was about 10 seconds. So what we're going to do for this portion, we've invited members of our academic departments, our core academic departments. So English, math, science, one portion of our world language, Spanish and French. And Ms. Phillips, I don't know if Mr. Consul is joining us tonight, if you want to shoot him a quick text, or you're talking about it all, but, and then special education and social studies. And so what we're asking each department to do is kind of just talk for about 4 to 5 minutes on, you know, some things about the freshman program, what it's like. I know you've already heard from our night of study, our course of study night, about what the courses are, but these are the folks who actually teach them and can give you some of the insights, the ins and outs. They've also heard a lot of the questions that you might have. But the nice thing is, if you look on Zoom, there's a Q&A feature. At any time, you can pop that open and you can ask a question. And when they're not presenting, our staff members should, be able to answer those questions for you. Okay. So we're going to start off with English. We have Mr. Brake and Mrs. Falat representing us here. So I will turn the Zoom over to them for a couple minutes to talk about 9th grade English.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Davis. Good evening, everyone. My name is Tyler Brake. I teach the accelerated and regular level 10th grade English classes with Mr. Maniscalco and a few others at East. And I'm just going to give a brief overview of some of our specific things that we deal with in our content area. So for 9th grade for reading, there are 3 required texts, Romeo and Juliet, Edith Hamilton's mythology book, and the Odyssey. The other books are up to the teacher that your student or your child has for the year. They come from a diverse array of authors from a variety of different ethnic backgrounds. It's up to the teacher, and they come from an approved book list. There's also a special emphasis on female authors. For instance, this past year in the fall, we started with social justice books. There were 7 different books students had for summer reading that were all social justice themed from all different variety of backgrounds. So we're really emphasizing diversity in our other text selections outside of the required texts. As for writing, we usually focus on one style or type of writing per marking period. We have literary analysis, argumentative or persuasive essays, a narrative, and then an expository or research essay. The focus is really on how to build an essay, the organization and structure, style, sentence variety, and fluency. A big part is vocabulary, which we've been toying with, but it goes from freshman to junior year. Depending on the level, there are different books that your child will receive, but there's 10 units per year typically. There are base words. I think there's 10 for freshmen in each unit, and then 15 as the students progress. They deal on a variety of synonyms and antonyms, all of the different Greek and Latin roots. All of that's SAT based. There's enrichment terms that highlight words from different cultures and backgrounds around the world, and a little bit of etymology in some of the units. And then for grammar, it's all taught in context with a lot of the writing that we do in a kind of writing workshop model. It's also all SAT based and based on the New Jersey State Learning Standards. That has a focus on sentence fluency, spelling, mechanics, punctuation, and capitalization. So that's just a brief overview of all of the different subjects we focus on in English throughout the year. And I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Flott to go into the difference between some of our grade level or some of our leveled English classes.
Thank you, Tyler. So many of our students on the panel talked about finding their place at East. And so the freshman curriculum actually lends to that. It's finding the idea of talking about the idea of identity. So most of our literature is tied to the theme of identity and what it means to find your place in the world. So it's just a great way for the kids to acclimate to East as well. In terms of the levels, we usually have a lot of questions. What's the difference between R level, A level, honors? And so our level is more like our college prep. It's a mix of in-class and at-home independent reading. In-class activities are usually centered around reading comprehension, analysis. We have literature-based discussions where we kind of tie in like social emotional learning most of the time. We do a lot of brainstorming for essays, pre-writing with teacher guidance, drafting with teacher guidance, and we have writing conferences. In A level, we do all the same things, except it's at an accelerated pace. It involves more independent reading and writing than the R level, and there's more of an emphasis on analysis. And the big question is, well, what's that jump between A level and honors? And so for honors, we typically recommend it for highly self-motivated students who are avid readers and they're strong writers with a developed vocabulary. So those are, the students who are interested in taking the advanced placement classes their junior and or senior year, and who don't mind doing the majority of the reading independently. In-class activities are usually centered around in-depth analysis, so less of the comprehension, and strengthening writing skills. And so a good thing about EAST is that you're not pigeonholed into one level. So if you want to start off in an A level your freshman year and then try an honors level your sophomore year, that's not a problem at all.
Thank you, Mr. Brake and Mrs. Falat. All right, we'll jump over now to social studies. So we have Mr. Vann, Ms. McKee, and Mrs. Dolan. We'll talk a little bit about the social studies program.
Hi, good evening. My name is Mrs. Sue McKee, and I am one of the freshman World Civ teachers. I want to talk just a little bit about some of the requirements coming into ninth grade. So there is World Civilizations, and we have two levels, the honors level and the A level. Students are then required after freshman year to take US History 1 and then another year of US History 2, as well as our new African American elective in 9th or 10th grade, which is a semester course. We also have many electives, which will be talked about in a few minutes. I'm going to mirror some of the things that Mrs. Falat said in English. A big question is, what's the difference between honors and A? And very similar with similar skills to English. Honors students are expected to be highly motivated and to work independently. There is a good amount of reading and outside reading at the honors level. We do 5 outside books beyond our textbook. So there is a need for managing multitasking, I should say, a lot of material at the same time. High levels for writing as well. We do start to jump into the DBQ essay to prepare students in the honors level to go into AP history. So there is a heavy focus on using documents, mostly primary source documents as well. It is a faster pace at the honors level. It's a little faster, a little broader, a little deeper in material. The course itself is building on the 6th and 7th grade world histories, just being chronological. We start around 1300 and build into the 20th and even 21st century at this point. The honors level is something that students sort of learn how to study and learn how to learn. They have to be a willing partner, and it is very enriching. I'm going to give it over to Mr. Vann to talk a little bit about the accelerated level for World Civ.
Hi, my name is Julian Vann. I teach World Civ A, and I also teach AP US 2 history. And as Ms. McKee mentioned, we in the history department, we love it. We love teaching it because it's something that is really dear to us. A lot of things that happen in history. We see some of those things happening currently today. So we like to draw connections between what happened in the past and also what's happening modern day to really show how no matter what time period you lived in, no matter what your gender is, no matter what your culture is, your religious backgrounds, whatever it is, at the core, we're all humans and we all want the same thing, to be happy and to be successful and enjoy life. And as you start to examine people and their motives and why they did whatever they did, why they said whatever they would have said, it really becomes evident when you start to look at it. It's not so much about dates, it's more so about what's happening and why people interacted the way they did. And so when you're in class, it's nice. As Ms. McKee said, we'll be working with primary source documents, really breaking those down in regards to writing and just analysis. In World Civ A, you'll be reading Animal Farm, which is a pretty cool book. It's a short read. There's a lot of nice connections in regards to Russia and communism and socialism. So that's one of the books that we read. But we also get them prepared, as we mentioned, for the AP level. And for the AP level, most of the students are very driven. They're focused in regards to building certain skills. We'll get them ready for DBQ writing, as we mentioned. Short answer questions. We'll get them prepared for the EP exam, which will give them credits later on if they're able to pass it, and it would be nice for college later on. So that's what we really look forward to, and that's where our focus is. And I'll turn it over to Miss Jennifer Dolan, who is an AP whiz at US1.
Sorry, it's been a while. I couldn't find my unmute. Yes, I'm one of the teachers who teaches the one AP course, and I also teach US 2A. Like Mr. Vann was saying, it's definitely for the AP course is more for the more highly motivated students and kids who really want to delve in. We do have a lot of kids who start freshman year at the A level and then move up sophomore year to the AP level, and that is completely doable. There's the preparation that you receive in A level will get you ready if that's something you want to pursue. So if you're on the fence about where to focus next year, that's something to also keep in mind. And you take the AP exam if you're pursuing that route at the end of junior year. So US history is actually a 2-year course. And when you finish, if you finish the AP course through junior year, then you could take that. And like Mr. Vann mentioned, there are college credits for it. And then we also have the college prep level junior year, which is US 2. There is no history requirement for senior year, but we have a number of fantastic electives in our department. And I don't know the exact percentage, but a lot of our seniors do continue into a 4th year of US history, or I'm sorry, not US history, of 4th year of history or social sciences. So we have a couple, also along the AP track, we have European AP, we have World AP. We also have a fantastic government course, economics, which is not math, that is a social science, and psychology, which is not science, that is a social science. And they are all taught by people who have been doing it for years and do a fantastic job. We also have a couple other semester electives. We have the 1945 to present for students who really enjoy 20th century history, post-World War II history. And then we also have an American law elective. And since that's not dictated by the AP curriculum, that gives the teachers who do that a little more freedom to pursue current events and to pursue the interesting topics that their students are following.
All right, thank you, Social Studies Department. I should also mention that all students will be required to take a semester in African American history. That is a Cherry Hill board requirement. And I will mention also that with most of the things that you'll hear tonight, it's the same thing East and West. The curriculum is the same at both high schools. So, we're not unique, they're not unique. There are some courses that are unique to each school, but in terms of our core courses, the curriculum is the same. Let's jump over to science now, and we have Ms. Sosinski and Mrs. Donaldson.
Hi, I'm Kate Donaldson, and I'm going to talk about the biology curriculum. So in both A and H level, the curriculum is based on different storylines. And so for each unit, there's a big question that the students are trying to answer. And instead of just learning the content of biology, it's all centered around this one question. So for instance, the first unit is how did wolves impact the Yellowstone ecosystem? So learning about food chains, food webs, population dynamics, all through that lens. And then unit 2 touches on how have humans impacted coral bleaching. So when we talk about photosynthesis and cellular respiration and normal biology topics, we're focusing on answering these questions. So students will do lab activities, trying to find data to support a claim and use reasoning to support their answer. So there's a lot of modeling, lab activities, hands-on things that the students will do. And the storylines that the students work on is the same sort of setup in chemistry and physics, which will take sophomore and junior year. And then there are also some half-year and full-year electives after those required courses. And Mrs. Sosinski is going to touch on the difference between A and H level.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm Holly Sosinski. So yeah, a lot of what you've already heard from the other subjects, the difference between A and H is very similar in biology. For both classes, we follow the same sort of general skeleton of the curriculum, the same topics in general, but in the honors level, we'll go more in depth in those topics in the same amount of time. So naturally, that means that the curriculum, we move through the curriculum much faster. So what that means is that students have more independent time working with the material, do more things at home, and then come back and use the class discussion to get a better understanding of what's happening with that topic. We do ask that the students in honors level try to take initiative with their learning, ask questions, like I said, do independent work at home, and then come in and allow that class discussion. In A level, you still get a really great background in biology and you learn a lot of great topics. It's just there's a little bit more time in class for practice, for looking at a certain topic in multiple ways that we wouldn't necessarily do in class at the honors level. Like some of the other classes have said, or other courses have said, you might start out in A level your freshman year, and then there's no reason why you couldn't move up to honors chemistry your sophomore year. You're not set in a certain track. One of the other big questions that we get is, do we dissect in biology? That is not one of our parts of our curriculum. However, we do have a whole bunch of electives that give you the opportunity to dissect if that's something that you're interested in, like vertebrate anatomy, human anatomy, and then plenty of other electives that don't include dissection. So I hope you find that helpful.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll jump over now to world language. Mrs. Phillips, representing Spanish and French. And before Mrs. Phillips speaks, just so you know, she's going to talk about Spanish and French since that's connected most with the middle school programs. But we do have in our elective presentation a little bit later, the opportunity for you to hear from our Chinese, German, and Latin teachers. So Mrs. Phillips.
Hey everybody, I'm Kristen Phillips. I'm one of the French teachers at East. As Mr. Davis said, I'm going to focus on the French and Spanish curriculum because that is what's mostly coming in as freshmen from the middle school program. But we do offer those other languages for students coming who are either new to the district and have never studied a language before, or looking to change languages and try something new. So every language is offered at the level 1 if that is student's choice. That brings me to the question that's often asked, which is, should my students start in level 1 or level 2 coming from one of the middle schools? And generally speaking, unless there's an exception for some reason, students coming from our middle schools or a middle school program of some kind would start in level 2. Whether they are at, Beck, for example, Beck, Rosa, or Carusi, and they took French and Spanish, if they're continuing with that language, they should take level 2A or 2 honors. As many of the other teachers here have said, the difference between A and H, I would say that 2H goes deeper, is more rich, going further into the curriculum, although the curriculums do mirror each other for 2A and 2H. Also, some more independent study is required, as others have mentioned, less rote practice in class and more activities that will expand upon knowledge. And so that some of the memorizing and study portion is done independently. So definitely more independent learning. Students taking 2A can go on to 3H if they are, if that they decide that at the same time they want to move up the following year. It's usually the case that kids taking 2A freshman year will go on to 3A, 4A, and so on. And students taking 2 honors will stick with the honors track leading to AP. So it's not written in stone, as others have said, but if you do think that AP, French, Spanish, or other languages is what you're looking for, then you probably do want to start with the honors track. If you are coming from a different school and have never had French or Spanish experience, then you could take level 1. If for some reason at the middle school your student was unsuccessful in French or Spanish and wants to, take level 1 again, it's not that that cannot happen, but we do not recommend it because most students then find they cannot get the level high enough to either take the AP test or get their seal of biliteracy. So we really want to encourage everybody who's coming in with any kind of former French or Spanish experience to not take level 1, but take level 2. Our teachers who teach level 2 are very experienced in bringing all students up to the right level, whatever experience they're coming from, which, even in Cherry Hill are varied from 3 middle schools, but they're accustomed to trying to get everyone up to the same point and being prepared to take level 3. It is our goal to have every student take world language through senior year if possible, so that they can take that seal of biliteracy exam and get that seal, which is quite an honor to have on the diploma, and or take the AP test if they so desire. Some of the questions that have come up in other years, I know Mr. Davis wanted me to address. Can students take more than one language? Yes. Most students don't do that freshman year. They take one language, typically whatever they've been studying in middle school, unless they're starting over or something else. But yes, we have many sophomores, juniors, and seniors who are taking multiple different languages. Maybe they're in, like, say, at some point they get to be in 4 Spanish and then they're in French too, for example, or vice versa. So that does happen. Often freshmen take one language though. We do also have, the question often comes up, how many years of language do I need? The answer is 1 year for graduation requirement, but as any of the guidance counselors or third people will tell you, most colleges are looking for multiple years of a sequence of one language. So we do encourage our students to stick with one language in the sense that they get to a real level of fluency and proficiency and can get the seal of biliteracy also, whether or not they take the AP exam or not. We do want all our students to try to get to the level of proficiency. So we do recommend students stick with the same language throughout their course of study and or double up if they so choose later on, but it is beneficial to be staying consistent with taking the same language for multiple years. In terms of our French and Spanish curriculum, much like the other languages, our focus is really, there is grammar and vocabulary memorization, but of course, focus is really on proficiency and developing students who can speak, read, write, listen, understand native speakers, increasing high use of multimedia resources, use of native speakers, obviously, and trying to get students move along the proficiency curriculum line versus just earning a grade. That's really important to all of us. If there's any questions, after this evening, and specific questions about a specific language program, by all means, you can email any of us in the World Language Department. Thanks, everybody.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Phillips. All right, we're going to jump over to Mrs. Hunter and Mr. McVeigh to talk just a little bit about our special education program.
Hi, everybody. I am Marie Hunter. I am the special education teacher here at East, along with Mr. McVeigh. Our program is a great program for students who have IEPs, who need extra modifications and accommodations to make sure that they are staying the best student that they can be if they have learning disabilities or other limitations that they need help navigating. And most of our freshman classes in science, social studies, English, and math, we have ICR classes, which is in-class support. So we would have 2 teachers in the room, one being a regular regular certified content teacher, and then a special ed teacher. Most of these classes are seamless. So there's 2 teachers working together to provide curriculum, to provide extra help to all of the students, to provide the accommodations and modifications for each of the students. Most of the ICR classes happen at the R level or college prep level. Some are also at the accelerated level. One of our most common questions is, what is study skills? So study skills is a phenomenal class that helps, especially freshmen, to navigate East and navigate the ability to use time management, to finish tests if they have extra time in their, as part of their modifications or accommodations, to receive a lesson on different ways to either tackle taking tests or different ways to tackle an essay, extra help that they might just need to feel more confident, to be able to succeed better in their classes. Mr. McVeigh, did I forget anything?
Did you want to touch on I was going to talk about ICR if you were going to talk about concepts, which I figured you're exclusively concepts. But
Okay.
I'll go back and I'll let you talk about concepts after I go. I'm Conor McVeigh. I'm a special ed teacher, and I am exclusively utilized for in-class resource, like Maria had mentioned before. So my job is to co-teach all of my subjects, and currently I am in 2 chemistry courses, which are almost exclusively sophomores, and I have 3 English 2R, which is the college prep, ICR. So I co-teach all 5 of my sections, and it's my responsibility to make sure that all the students in the class, especially those who have extended needs, to make sure they're keeping on track. And it is my job to make sure that I'm communicating with their study skills or study hall teachers to make sure that if they need that allotted extra time, or whether it's for an assessment or an assignment or some sort of project, that I can go and hopefully if I have an off period, I can go and visit them, which I like to do. So I make sure that I'm in person when they're getting that sort of assistance, whether it's from me or whether it's from their designated study skills teacher. So they have me to reinforce the content in class, and I'm sort of their backbone in the class, as well as making sure I advocate for them outside, communicating with parents, just making sure everything stays, in the area where they need to stay. And if Maria, if you want to talk a little bit more about concepts.
Sure. So our concepts.
And Miss Hunter, if you could do that in a minute or less because of time.
Okay, I will try. So our concepts is our resource, our resource placement. So if students need a more smaller class and it would be in their ICR or in their IEP, there's too many letters, and now Mr. Davis made me all stressed out about timing, that they would have it in their program. The teachers are wonderful. It's smaller classes. It would be a smaller portion of the curriculum over an extended period of time to make sure that they really understood the foundations of math, English, science, and history. So if you have any questions, please put it in the chat and I'd be glad to help. And I look forward to meeting all of the students next year at East. How was that, Mr. Davis?
That was great, Mrs. Hunter. Thank you very much. I know I put you on the spot there. All right, so we're going to finish out with our mathematics department. We have Mr. Killian and Miss Dollerton, just to talk a little bit about the math program.
Do you mind if I go first, Miss Dollerton? I'm going to go first, I guess. Okay, so hi, everybody. I'm Jeff Killian, longtime math teacher at East. I'm currently this year teaching 9th grade enriched algebra and also 11th grade pre-calculus honors. In terms of 9th grade courses, you're talking Algebra 1 at the A and R level. You have geometry at the A and honors level. And then our very top group would be the functions honors class. But of course, we have an expanding menu of elective courses. We have robotics, we have many computer programming options, and we have statistics as well that students could take later on in their math career. So I was glad to hear that students were excited to branch out and learn new things, because I think a lot of people, when they think of math, they just think of your traditional algebra, geometry, functions, and onwards and upwards and whatnot. So it's good to hear that they're excited about branching out. In terms of A and honors, unlike maybe some of our other disciplines, it's, I think, a little bit harder to toggle back and forth between the levels, because I'm not sure if people are aware, but when you terminate in the honors level at AP Calculus, you're getting credit for Calculus 2, because it's BC version. So essentially, you're taking that functions, pre-calc honors, and AP Calc, which is 3 years of courses. But in that, you're doing topics in Algebra 2, Pre-Calc, Calc 1, and Calc 2. So it's an extremely ambitious amount of material. And because math is so dependent from one year to the next on the topics that you're learning for the next year, it's a little bit harder to switch levels. It can be done, but just let's understand there's a few bit more hoops that you would have to do maybe versus some other disciplines. So I guess one of the things I always seem to be asked is, well, what can we do? And a lot of kids have a lot of anxiety about taking, for example, an honors level class, and say, what kinds of things could I do to maybe increase my chances of being successful? I really kind of would say two things. One, have your child talk to friends who are in those classes and see, well, what kinds of things are helping them to be more successful. And two, try to look up resources to kind of get a glimpse of the kinds of problems that you'll see. Like, for example, if you click on the East website, all teachers have a thing which says contact us. And we do a lot of things with Google Classroom now. But I also have, for example, on my teacher website, a link to my old e-board where I have a PDF of all the notes that I did for when I used to teach functions, so that kids can go in and anybody can see the kind of problems that I've done, so they get a glimpse of, okay, well, like, what is the difference in the quality of problem between, maybe like what an A-track class might look like, and what's the jump up to when it's honors level. It's just easy, we can say it in words, but until the student actually sits down and looks at the differences in the kinds of problems, it's really kind of hard for a student to really grasp the difference. So if you can take a look at the resources that we have out there to kind of compare the two, I would highly recommend that, so you can make the most informed decision possible. But I don't want to dominate the time. I want to give Ms. Dollerton a chance to interject.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Killian. Hi, I'm Suzanne Dollerton. I too am longtime math teacher at East. So I think Mr. Killian did a great job as far as presenting to you the different courses that we have for your students as they enter into East. For us, I would probably say, and Jeff, you could give a shake of the head if you agree, I think the placement into the level and course that your child would enroll in is sometimes supported by recommendations that come from the middle school. But there's always the ability for that mobility. But our honors track, which starts in 8th grade placement, it is difficult to make the jump up, but it's doable. I just think the most important thing is really to reiterate the importance of a really solid Algebra 1 foundation, no matter what course your child enrolls in or which path, whether they take RA or honors. The Algebra 1 foundation is really going to drive, I guess I don't want to say their success, but whether or not they're going to find their course to be as doable, so I think I wanted to reiterate and be sure that everyone understood that Algebra 1 is the foundation for all of these math courses, straight through that Mr. Killian was speaking about, Calc 2, right? End of the day, what do we utilize? Algebra skills. So I'd really like to see families kind of make a commitment to not just shoving and pushing their child into geometry because that's where they're supposed to be, when we should really also focus energy on making sure that their foundation is solid so that then they feel successful in the following courses. But similar to my colleagues, if you have any questions regarding math, placement, curriculum, Mr. Killian and I both have been with the math department 24 years, I think now. So both of us as senior representation within the department would be more than happy to help you and guide you with those answers.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Dollerton. Sorry, I'm trying to set up two different things. So I want to thank all of our teachers for coming today, just sharing a little bit. I know Mr. Killian and Ms. Dollerton, there's a couple Q&As just real quick. I posted in the chat for all of the 8th graders and parents. We're going to jump over to Google Meet now. We're going to leave Zoom and we're going to jump over to Google Meet. Now you can access that through the Cherry Hill East website, or I posted the link to our electives presentation. What the electives presentation is going to look like is this. During a 10-minute time frame, 8:05 to 8:15, 8:15 to 8:25, you'll have the option to attend a presentation by our teachers of those departments. So our first set will be, drama, Chinese, German, Latin, instrumental music, science electives. Then our second set, fine arts, business, vocal music, and science electives again. And then they just basically repeat, and science electives drops off in that situation. It's an opportunity for you to hear from those programs. You can possibly ask some questions as well. but I'm going to give you a minute to just jump over there. Again, I want to thank everybody who was part of this tonight. Dr. Perry, do you want to have the last word here?
Thank you, Mr. Davis. I too want to thank our teachers for very valuable information they shared tonight. Really helped to provide an idea of what the academic portion of EAST will be, and also for our students for sharing what the day-to-day lives of students are currently and will be in the future at EAST. So I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. I look forward to seeing you over in Google Meet for the elective conversations. Thank you.